did it again. What's going on, everybody? My name is Blitzwinger, and ladies and gentlemen, Marvel Rivals has cooked up another huge update for all of us to enjoy. We're getting not one, not two, but three brand new skins being added into the shop with the latest update. We're gonna break that down. Some insane concept art images have begun to leak and revealed for Marvel Rivals, and they look spectacular. We're talking about a lot of characters like Abomination, Green Goblin, Spider-Man 2099. Yes, there's a lot to be excited about and much more. Now, of course, guys, you know the drill. If you guys do enjoy today's Marvel Rivals update video, please don't forget to scroll on down, smash that thumbs up button. Thank you guys so much for your kindness and your continued support. And without further ado, like usual, let's dive on in. So we kick things off with the first of three skins that will be debuting in the Marvel Rivals store this week. Yes, this is a very rare week where we're getting three premium items being added. Usually we're used to the double drop where they would essentially go with two skins. This time they're going triple. So the first one is probably the most exciting in my personal opinion, and that is Man Spider. I freaking love the design for this character. You've already seen the MVP screen for it, which looks spectacular. I just love reminiscing of this particular character from the Spider-Man animated series. If you guys ever watched that show, you would probably recognize the design and a little bit of the similarities between the design from Marvel Rivals and the one that we saw in the Spider-Man animated series. So very cool looking. The other really good thing about this particular skin is that it is only an epic rarity skin, which means that if you're a Spider-Man fan or if you're a Spider-Man cosmetics collector inside of Marvel Rivals, this one is only going to run you 1,600 units, which means it is more on the affordable side of things. Now, of course, it will go ahead and come along with the MVP animation. Like I mentioned, it will have an emote, which does look pretty dang cool. It's like kind of a transformation with the 6 arms appearing, so that looks pretty dang neat. We will have a nameplate and a spray. Keep in mind, because this is an epic rarity skin, the nameplate will be non-animated, so I guess that's a little bit of a bummer, but still an absolutely terrific addition to the Spider-Man collection and perfect for Halloween week. The other thing I did also want to mention is that this skin is actually going to start up a new collection of skins within Marvel Rivals, and that is going to be the collection of the Collector's Collection, where essentially we're probably going to get all these characters that are kind of based on variants that the collector would be acquiring over his different travels and adding into his collection. So should be a really cool subcategory of skins going forward. Then we move on to the Queen of the Dead, aka Scarlet Witch, and this one, surprisingly so, is also going to be just an epic rarity skin, not a legendary one, which I was definitely surprised by that. I did not expect this one to be in that particular category, but with its epic category means that it will have a 1,600 unit price point. So again, that is very favorable, especially if you've been playing Marvel Zombies, which we'll talk about in just a moment, by the way. But that PvE mode, of course, features the ultimate boss fight of Scarlet Witch, or if you get all the way to Nightmare 4, 2 Scarlet Witch, Queen of the Dead bosses. But this is a really cool design. Again, the Marvel Zombies aesthetic is something that I've always really liked, especially with this time of the year, with Halloween being right around the corner. This one is a very exciting drop. Again, it will have the costume, MVP animation, emote, nameplate, and a spray as well. And once again, should be a pretty cool collection. Finally, we have the big release of the week. This is the legendary skin known as Iron Man Big Shot. And I have to say, it actually turned out pretty dang cool. This is pretty much Tony Stark more so than Iron Man, of course, which I think is a pretty cool concept. I wonder if they'll do a similar thing with maybe some of the other characters down the line. Like, could we get like a Peter Parker skin, or maybe some of the other characters fully unmasked? So something to, I guess, pay attention to and look forward to. I do think that the skin itself looks pretty cool. Of course, like I mentioned, since it is a legendary skin, it will run you 2,200 units. So keep that in mind that this will be on the higher end. I'm very curious to see if they will do a triple skin bundle, because I don't think they've ever done that. I do believe they maybe once did a Fantastic Four bundle where it was 4 of them all together. So we'll see if they'll bundle all 3 of these new skins that are releasing this week together for some sort of a discounted price. That way, if you do play Spider-Man and you do play Scarlet Witch and you do play Iron Man, you could kind of save by buying all 3 of them together. So we'll see if that actually does happen. I do think that this one actually did turn out pretty dang cool. I also love the fact that this one actually has a detail from one of the maps in the game, because if you noticed, the mech that we see appear in the actual MVP animation for the Big Shot Iron Man is the same mech that we see hoisted up inside of the Hydra base. So again, really cool little storytelling there for this particular MVP animation. Marvel Zombies. The brand new PvE mode has debuted, and I gotta say, I had a blast trying out the mode. I think it's a lot of fun, and it seems like a lot of people agree. I know that when they just announced it, and when I covered it on last week's Marvel Rivals video, a few people said, but you don't know what you're talking about. Nobody wants PvE. It sucks. This is a PvP game. Why would they introduce it? Nobody cares. You'll see that it won't matter. And then I'm like, yo, but check out the stats though, huh? 70% player increase on Steam the day that Marvel Zombies debuts. To me, that is certainly an indication that there was most definitely a lot of people that wanted to go ahead and give this one a go. And since its debut, it seems like it's actually garnered a lot of positive attention. So let me know what you guys have experienced with Marvel Zombies. Are you liking it? Are you disliking it? Would you like them to continue this PvE mode trend beyond Halloween? Because of course we know that this is a limited time mode, but they have discussed that they would consider introducing more PvE modes like the one with the Sentinels versus the X-Men, or maybe even something along the lines of Ultron along with Ultron bots and you have to fight him. So again, if you're having fun with the PvE mode, would you like for them to continue and roll out some sort of a permanent PvE mode that is around all year round? Let me know in the comment section below. But next up, let's get to exciting stuff, because everybody loves free stuff. And guess what? The folks over at Marvel Rivals have cooked us up another bunch of free goodies that we'll be able to earn with Galacta's Gift Volume 2 returning starting with the update tomorrow. So from October 30th up until November 14th, make sure to take advantage of Galacta's Gift, because by completing the quest, which essentially just requires you to play matches, you will be able to go ahead and earn a range of free goodies. The entirety of Galacta's Gift Pass Volume 2 will give you a total of 300 units, which is fantastic, 300 unstable molecules, which is fantastic. You'll be able to apply those to those previously mentioned VFX, ultimate VFX items, so that should be pretty dang exciting. But in addition to that, you will also earn a pretty cool looking Halloween commemorative nameplate, which is animated. So that is definitely quite lovely. But most importantly, you do get a chance to earn another free costume coin, which is of course then possible to be redeemed for any of your skins of choice within the exchange tab. And the other really cool thing is that for this particular celebration of Galacta's Gift Volume 2, they're actually bringing back a bunch of the free event skins and making those available for redemption as well. So you'll see 12 skins right here that previously were earnable via free events. Like for example, the patch version of Wolverine, that's a really popular skin. I think a lot of people will try to get that. Maybe the Jeff Christmas attire one, I think a lot of people might try to go get that one. So there's lots of really cool, exciting skins. There are 12 total new skins being added, of course, on top of all the ones that are already available. So again, a really cool way to go ahead and get yourself a free item. But please make sure to not miss out, because again, the most important thing about this new Galacta's Gift Volume 2 event is that it is only going to be around for roughly around 2 weeks. So make sure to take advantage. And again, this is why you should always have your notifications turned on for these updates so that you don't miss out and you're on time with being up to date with all the Marvel Rivals info. But then we have got the big one. Holy moly. A bunch of concept art from one of the official concept artists for Marvel Rivals has dropped, and it has sent the community into a frenzy. So this is concept art that was shared by Dapeng Song, I believe is how you pronounce it. It's D-A-P-E-N-G, and then Song as in song. And my goodness, there's some incredibly exciting concept art that was shared here. Now, before we get into the actual concept art, you know what? Never mind. Let's get into the concept art, and then we'll talk about what does this mean for Marvel Rivals. So, first and foremost, we have this unbelievable image that showcases so many freaking cool and exciting characters right off the bat. First and foremost, we have the Sentinels out in the background dominating the entire picture, but then look at this character roster. This looks incredibly exciting. I would love to see all of these become playable characters. Starting on the left-hand side, we have Black Cat, which would be a really cool, probably DPS character, so that is very cool. Then right next to her, we actually have Lady Deadpool, which is something that I think a lot of us didn't even consider. The idea that maybe it won't be Deadpool that gets introduced into this game first and foremost, but it might actually end up being Lady Deadpool that they choose to go with. So this is kind of an interesting idea. Then we've got the very cool Lizard, along with the monstrously tall Juggernaut right behind, which I think would be an absolutely brilliant Vanguard character in this game. Right next to him, front and center, we have Doc Ock, which I've been beating that drum saying, my goodness, I would love a Sinister Six themed maybe season or two where we get all of them added as playable characters along with Doc Ock as a Vanguard. Would be incredibly exciting. Right next to him, we also see Carnage, which, again, I think is just a matter of time because how popular Carnage is and the fact that Venom is such a popular character in the game already, it's just a no-brainer that at some point in time, we will get Carnage as a playable character as well. And then we also get Sentry, who looks insanely cool. I also love that it almost teases possibly how he could be like a long-range character with the Sentry Bolt ability, maybe being his like long-range, almost like a boomerang sort of weapon. So that is pretty interesting. And then ultimately also we see Rhino, which again, no-brainer for a Vanguard character. Oh, but that is still not all. We got a bunch of other images as well. So let's run through those also. Next up, we have this really cool image of Abomination, which again would be an absolutely brilliant Vanguard character. Just makes all the sense in the world. I would love to see Abomination being added into the game. Then we actually see Prowler Miles Morales, which is super interesting because that makes you think like, A, would they choose to make Prowler as the playable character? Would they choose to make Miles as a playable alternative character? Would this just be a skin for Spider-Man? I mean, the possibilities truly are endless. Then we've got the freaking Kingpin, which looks so freaking cool. Again, going back to my point about the Sinister Six, if you include Kingpin as part of that playable roster, that would be absolutely tremendous. I would love to see Kingpin being added into the game as a Vanguard. Then we get Sabretooth, which is someone who's been reading the Ultimate Wolverine comics. I've grown to be a bigger fan of this character lately, so I would really love to see Sabretooth again as a playable character. And the one thing that's very exciting about a lot of these images that we've talked about so far is that a lot of these characters would make for perfect Vanguards, which is something that so many members of the community have been saying that, hey, it feels like we don't have enough Vanguards or strategists. It seems like if this concept art were to actually come to fruition, I think that this is really exciting because a lot of these characters actually would be perfect Vanguards / strategists. So that should be pretty dang exciting. But you thought we were done. No, we're not done yet because we also got even more images, including Bullseye, who looks pretty dang awesome and would be a very interesting counterpoint for next season. So we'll talk about that in just a moment. Just pay attention to the fact that he has a card in his hands. But again, Bullseye would make for a really cool character to debut maybe right after Daredevil, you know, as one of his arch nemesis. I think that would be pretty dang cool. Then we get Mysterio, who looks spectacular. And again, with Mysterio, easily you could go ahead and make him a Vanguard, but if you wanted to, you could probably even come up with a really creative way to make him a strategist as well, along with some illusions and stuff. So should be really cool. Then we have a much lesser, I guess, known character in Crossbones, but would be really cool from a gameplay perspective, and it would probably offer them to give you another more traditional character in terms of like weapon choices and such, because he could probably have more like guns, kind of like Punisher. So could be a nice little entry-level character in Crossbones. Then, since we just talked about Bullseye and Daredevil as well, it makes perfect sense that obviously we have concept art for Elektra also to wrap up that trio. That would be absolutely fantastic. Would love to see Elektra become a playable character also. Then, out of the blue, I freaking love the design for this particular one, is Crimson Dynamo. It just looks so cool. I love that they go ahead and tease the idea of, you know, the sickle and the hammer and all that. That would be a pretty clever way to incorporate the character, I guess, motif into the actual playable elements of the character. So pretty dang cool for sure in terms of just the aesthetic, and would make for probably, again, a really good tank character that would be playable. Speaking of tanks or just absolute units of characters, we also have a concept art for Onslaught. I think this one could be insanely powerful, almost maybe too powerful, because this character is unbelievably strong within the Marvel Universe. But if they could come up with a clever way of not making him overpowered while still being authentic to the character, I would love to see this one be included as well. Then we have this absolutely beautiful concept art for Mystique, and I think that this one is a no-brainer at some point in the somewhat near future. I expect this one to be a playable character. Just think of all the gameplay possibilities with this one in terms of being able to copy other characters, maybe even pretending to be on the enemy team, kind of disguising yourself almost like in Team Fortress 2, the spy character. So this could be a really game-changing and fun character to play as. And then I saved the two best ones for last. We also got a really brilliant image of Spider-Man 2099 Miguel O'Hara, clearly inspired by the Across the Spider-Verse aesthetic and design, but looking really freaking awesome. Whether this would just be a skin for Spider-Man or a brand new character, which I would personally prefer, but if it was just a skin, that's perfectly fine as well. This could be really, really exciting. And then finally, we have the one and only Green Goblin. This is probably the character that I've been talking about the most in terms of hoping to see this one become playable, just because I think it would be so freaking cool. Just the glider ability, the pumpkin bombs, maybe some sort of an ultimate variant where you turn into the ultimate Green Goblin. That way you could kind of like satisfy both different fan bases of the character, where you get traditional Goblin as the main playable character, but then when you hit your ultimate, you turn into ultimate Green Goblin. So you kind of get the best of both worlds. That way everyone is sort of happy, hopefully, even though that's very difficult to do. But I would love to see this happen. That would be spectacular. So now let's get to the sad part, or to the reality of things. A lot of people immediately, when they saw all of this concept art being shared, said, oh my goodness, this means that every one of these characters is confirmed from Marvel Rivals. Then I saw other people on the opposite extreme say, oh my goodness, you guys are all idiots. None of these characters are going to happen. This is just concept art that was done by an artist that works at Marvel Rivals. Now, I think that the truth is honestly somewhere in the middle, in the sense that no, obviously it does not mean that every single one of these characters is going to be included. That's silly, or at least not anytime soon. But I also think that it's silly, or equally as silly, to say that none of these characters are going to be included either. Because again, you have to think about it this way. This is a person that works at Marvel Rivals that is responsible for concept art for Marvel Rivals. So therefore, I feel like when you look at the aesthetic, the way that this is all presented with the little Marvel Rivals, I guess, shapes in the background of every one of the characters that we've taken a look at, I think that it confirms that these are characters that they're brainstorming as possible options. So in that sense, I think it's actually extremely exciting, because if you were someone who was like worried that like, oh my goodness, I don't think they're gonna, you know, do the Green Goblin like we just talked about, and I think they're gonna do Ultimate Green Goblin. The fact that we see the classic Goblin design here on the glider is a very exciting confirmation that this is probably the way that they would head should the Green Goblin be added into the game. So in that sense, it is definitely exciting information. Now again, I would still keep your expectations in check in terms of all of these happening, but no matter what, it is most definitely very, very exciting to see all of this concept art being shared, and hopefully it all ultimately leads to some of these exciting characters being included. A question for you: out of all the concept art that was shared here, if you could pick one of these characters to debut in Marvel Rivals, let's say 2 or 3 seasons from now, which one would it be and why? Comment down in the comment section below. And then And speaking of characters that shall be debuting with season number 5, because obviously keep in mind, we're not that really far away from season 5, we can start to most certainly speculate about whether or not it will indeed be Gambit and Rogue. And there are a lot of things that seem to continuously point towards that direction. I mean, previously we got the little story entry for raising the stakes, where there's literally specific mention of the following sentence, where it reads, if you play your cards right and they don't drain every last bit of your life force, I may make an appearance. I feel like that is a pretty solid tease of the fact that next season will indeed see the debut of Gambit, who's probably the character most known for cards. Maybe there's some crazy swerve and it ends up being Bullseye, since he oftentimes does also throw cards. So that could be kind of an interesting twist, especially debuting right after the debut of Daredevil. That would be kind of cool. You know, Daredevil debuts, then his arch nemesis debuts right after. That would be a really cool twist, but I most certainly expect it to be Gambit. And then the life force sucked out of you, that is obviously a reference to Rogue. So I think that that is a pretty solid tease for the fact that next season will indeed see the debut of Gambit and Rogue. So that should be pretty dang exciting. In fact, XOX League has shared another season 5 text string that says, countless legends have been weaved across the time stream entanglement, but love is surely the most moving chapter of them all. Like the stars in the night sky, it silently guides hearts home, adding a gentle tether even amid the fiercest battles. The moment of peace is precious because of love, infusing your legendary saga with an eternal touch of romance. So love is going to be in the air, which again circles perfectly right back to Gambit and Rogue, since they are in love. They've had a relationship for many years and many times in the comics, in the animated series. So that makes perfect sense that that would be the theme for next season. So prepare yourself. If you're an X-Men fan, it seems like exciting times ahead with season number 5. So there you go. That is today's update for Marvel Rivals. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, you know the drill. Scroll on down, hit that thumbs up button. Thank you guys so very much for your kindness and your continued support. I will hopefully see each and every single one of you guys here next week for the next update for Marvel Rivals as we get so close towards season 5. Of course, we're going to start to see teasers of the character that will be debuting first. I have a feeling like they will actually go ahead and debut Rogue first, but the way that the text block that we just read does seem like it hints that maybe Gambit will be the first one to arrive, and then Rogue would appear afterwards because, quote unquote, the cards have been played correctly. So we shall see. Let me know which one you would like to see debut first, Gambit or Rogue. Comment down in the comment section below. I will hopefully see all of you lovely peeps here on the next one. Have an absolutely fantastic rest of your day. Peace out. See you later, alligators. Bye-bye, everybody.